Hey guys, for all of you that know me, you know I love tools and software, things to help automate. And of course, AI has been like the hot topic of the century in the past number of months. And so I have Tiago here with Pod Squeeze, a killer AI tool for podcasters. And we're going to chat about podcasts and AI. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here and to talk more about AI and podcasting and how these two go together.
Yeah. I feel like it's been like a slow burn. Like there's been like lots of sites and lots of options. And then all of a sudden, like Chat GTP, whatever the hell it's called, has like, everyone's talking about it and everyone's using it. And then all of a sudden it just went boom, it like
Yeah,
exploded.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, to be honest, this technology came out of nowhere. It seemed because I've been following AI for a long time, and I've even done my masters around it and
Oh,
everything.
wow.
So I kind of knew what was possible, but even so, I was not expecting that literally from one day to the other everything would change, like my life would change
Yeah.
because of that. And suddenly AI was so much more smart and approachable, and everyone can literally use it, even
Yeah.
if you are not familiar, if you're not a tech person or tech savvy, you can use this. So that's why also ChatGPT had such wider reception. Like everyone started using it, and it was much faster. The growth was like, I don't know if you saw those graphs, but it was so much faster than like Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, everything. So it's
Insane.
crazy.
It is insane. And so, like, yeah, all of these apps and options are coming out of the woodwork. And not that I mean, obviously I'm submersed in podcasting world, so I see them that relates to podcasting. I'm sure there's even like AI in like hospitals that they use it for. I don't even know what for. It's insane. So how did you use your AI skills and your knowledge and lean into podcasting? Like why podcasting?
Right. So I I've been an entrepreneur, like a full-time entrepreneur or indie maker, as we call it,
Yeah.
for around 2 years, and I've been so it's been full-time, my full-time occupation, and I've been trying building a lot of different kinds of products. And when I started this path of being an indie maker, I also started my own podcast because I love
Awesome.
podcasting.
Yeah, yeah.
I really do, and I love listen to them. And I'm much more an audio person than a visual person, so I
Interesting.
much prefer um, perceiving content and
Yeah.
listening than to actually reading. So I started my own podcast where I basically started narrating my own journey and as well interviewing other people, other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. And then I thought that this was super cool, and I started building a lot of other projects. And then GPT came along, and together with my co-founder, we started kind of brainstorming ideas and thinking, okay, what can we do with this technology? Because this will disrupt the world. This is already disrupting the world. So
Hmm.
it's probably a great opportunity here to create some businesses. And I knew and I know how hard it is for podcasters to grow their audience. You probably know as well, right? It's so hard, and it's so much easier to do it with YouTube and other mediums. With podcasting, is really, really hard. So we thought that maybe we can do something here. We can do something to help podcasters, because now we have this API that we can use, which is basically an API to a brain, super smart. And we already have technology that transcribes the audio. So why not repurpose content and help podcasters to just spread the word across multiple channels, social media, SEO, if you want to write blogs, etc. So
Hmm.
we thought, okay, let's try using this integration, ChatGPT, and use this to help podcasters repurpose their content and create show notes, blog posts, tweets, titles, timestamps, you name it. We try to create everything that can help podcasters spread the word. So that's kind of how the idea came to be.
That's awesome. And yeah, the fact that you were able to create something so fast and just the timing of it all. And so I can't even remember how I came across your app. It might have been in an email
Probably,
And
yeah.
I'm like, ooh, Pod Squeeze. And I'm like, of course, the name is like catchy, right? So I'm like, oh, I'll check that out. Tried it. And I'm like, well, that was easy. And like as a
Yeah.
podcaster, there's so much you have to do to like capture people's attention and create content. So for those that don't really know, like how can AI help a podcaster? What can it create?
So when you use PodSqueeze, and we try to make it really simple, so that even because our main way of marketing and bringing people or bringing the awareness to people is through emails. So it's probably how you also
Oh, there you go.
uh, exactly.
It worked.
Uh, and I mean, it's working really well. Normally, people do not like, they do not appreciate this kind of cold emailing, but we have gotten great feedback and people actually thanking us
Yeah.
for sending the email, which is really cool. And it's so we wanted it to be super simple to use, and I think we kind of nailed it there. So you can just go there. You can either upload your episode or just use your RSS feed.
Mhm.
Normally, people upload because they want to generate these assets before actually publishing
Exactly.
the episode. So you can just upload your audio file. You click convert, and then you just wait a few minutes, and then we'll generate. Then it's like magic. To be honest, it's
So
magic for me
fast.
as well, because again, what OpenAI was able to do with ChatGPT, it's incredible. So when we just integrate as well with them, and when we see the results, of course, that there was a lot of work to tune the prompt and to be able
Mhm.
to generate all of these assets, but they do kind of pop up there, and it kind of looks like magic. So we create show notes. So then you just look at your screen, and all of these assets just materialize in front of you, and you'll be able to access the show notes, titles, the timestamps, all of these nice assets, and then you can also edit them. So let's say that you want these assets to follow a certain tone or your own
Mhm.
voice, your own brand. You can actually apply GPT prompts on top of those. And I don't know if you
I've
use
done that.
this, if you yeah, it's very simple. You can just use your natural language and just tell what you want to achieve. So as a joke, you can just say, write it as you are a pirate, for instance, and it will be a really funny result. But you can also say, write it in the style of I don't know, Alex Bloomberg from Gimlet Media, or um, some kind of personality that you admire. Or you can even say, write it for an audience of entrepreneurs or an audience of I don't know, people that love horses.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't
and
know you
and
could get that granular. That's neat.
yeah, you can. Actually, there's actually a whole new job description, or profession kind of showing up, which is to be a prompt designer. So you can really get a lot of things done if you give the right prompt.
Yeah.
So you can just let your imagination run and get
Wow.
the results you need.
That's insane. And now I need to go in and to the back and have it come out as if I'm a pirate because now I'm curious.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's really funny.
That's
You hear a lot of
awesome.
R's and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's a riot. But from a serious perspective, I find a lot of podcasters, whether they're host or they even guest, that they don't lean and leverage show notes. Like to me, they're so important.
Yeah.
So for the audience sake, can you kind of share like why show notes are so key?
Sure. Before doing that, let me ask you a question actually. What is show notes for you?
Pardon me?
Like, yeah, what is a show notes for you? Because I
Oh,
think that
I know
the
there's so
concept
many
kind of
different
changed. Yeah.
terms, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's like the summary of like what the podcast episode is about, or it's like
Okay.
teasers
Yeah.
of
Perfect. Yeah.
so that I know, oh, this episode is going to cover this, this, and this. That
Yeah.
interests me, therefore I'm going to listen.
Perfect. That's the same definition that we are using at PodSqueeze. However, I there's also this other definition that basically says that show notes is all the notes you put on the show. So not only the teaser, right, or the description, as well the timestamps, the
Mm,
links, everything. So it's I just wanted to hear your thoughts here,
yeah,
and interesting that we have the same definition here.
totally.
Uh, so yeah, let's say that the show notes contains a lot of different assets. One is the teaser, the description, right? And for that, as you said, you just want to give enough information so that you get the possible listener curious about your episode, right? So I don't know. Sometimes normally I think listeners, there's two categories: people that already follow you, and
Yeah,
then they just want to know what this episode is about so that they can just start playing it, or people that just are curious to learn about a specific topic, right? So if they
totally.
want to learn about AI, and then they will use this teaser, this description, to see if the topics that they want to learn about or listen about are covered in that specific episode. And then of course that can also be used as SEO, right? Because a lot of people search
Yes.
for a specific topic on Google or any search engine, and if you have that your audio converted into something that is easable to be parsed by Google and these search engines, then you will appear in the search results. So that's also a great way to use this description. Then you can also use, sorry to geek out here a little bit, but
It's all good.
if we include the definition, the broader definition of show notes, you can also include timestamps, which is
I
something
love
that
the timestamps.
they're really neat. It's cool because it's something that before, as a podcaster myself, I had never had the time to actually create those,
Right?
because it's so much work, right? You need to re-listen to the whole episode and like write everything down and get the timestamp of
Forget
when
it,
actually
man.
happened. Yeah, but now it's possible, and I'm just using those assets, and something really interesting happened. So I was basically just copying that content and pasting on the show notes of
Yeah,
my provider, and it was distributing through multi platforms. And I do use Spotify to listen to podcasts, and then
same.
I was listening to my own podcast. I don't know, I'm weird. I like to do that
It's
for
good. You can hear, yeah, how to improve. And yeah, it's nothing
yeah
wrong with that. There's no shame in that,
I
Tiago.
cool. No judging there. Yeah, so I was like listening to that, and I saw that there was some kind of segmentation on the
Ooh.
timeline, and I thought, wow, this is cool. And then as I was stepping in those segments, I saw there was a title, and I thought, wait, this title is coming from my timestamps. So I didn't
Oh,
know about this, but actually Spotify is smart enough to actually parse this data, and then it will segment the episode, and people can just go through it much easily just
yeah.
by appending the timestamps to their show notes. So that's also another way to use and to somehow yeah, a
Yeah.
way
I
to
didn't know it
repurpose
did that.
content.
Now I'm going to look at my show on Spotify and double check.
Yeah, do that and let me know if it works. Hopefully it does.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I don't even include my timestamps on like what I put in Libsyn, the host. I just put like a summary.
Mm.
But now I think I will be adding the timestamps.
Yeah.
That's
I
slick.
just added them. Like I started with with a description. Then I put the links. Also, PodSqueeze gives you like the mentions and the links, so that if you
Yeah.
forget about like what we talk about, then I just put the timestamps there, because I assume most of people won't actually read them. But then they are parsed by Spotify and
Yeah.
probably other platforms.
But even if you read them, it gives you a little snippet of like
Yeah,
key highlights that are covered, right?
true. Yeah.
It's super helpful.
And if there's a specific topic, so imagine you listen to the whole episode and then you just want to revisit a specific topic,
Hmm.
you can just see, you can click on it and or see when this topic starts, and you can
Yeah,
just go directly there.
I know. And honestly, I don't know if you know this, but like for me, I actually use that to help myself create like video snippets and reels,
Mm,
because then I know at about that timestamp it's going to cover this topic and I think it's hot. So then I can jump ahead to that spot and find like the nugget that I want for like
right.
a reel or whatever. And
Hmm.
even just to like, ooh, I want to write a social media post about that part.
Yeah.
I just find it just helps kind of narrow it down when you're creating
Hmm.
content afterwards.
How do you create these video snippets?
I use a couple of different tools that I'm not going to share.
Okay.
But
But it's
yeah,
like, is it software, or like you have to create it yourself?
you do have to create it yourself, but it pulls in the transcripts, like so it creates the captions, it's all branded.
Got it.
So you can edit and play with it, and then you like scan over the text and then hit clip, and
Got
then it
it.
pulls
Yeah,
that
yeah,
clip
yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
It does have some AI features that it just added on where it picks the clips, but for some weird reason, the branding of it is a bit awkward.
Okay.
So, and sometimes the clips that the AI chooses, I'm like,
They're not the best.
it's not
Yeah.
really a key point that I would have raised. So I'm a little
Yeah.
picky when it comes to that.
That's
Um,
hard. Yeah.
it is, but
It
the timestamps for me are super helpful because then I can scan right to that spot and then find the nugget. So at least I'm not scrolling through the
got
whole
it.
thing.
So you scan and then you just select the part you want to just create a
Yeah.
snippet.
So the
That's great.
timestamps help
That's
me
great
for
feedback.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something we want to do as well. We want to bring so again, like our mission is to just help podcasters grow their audience. And we started with written assets, but we also want to go to video most likely, and we want to make this whole process smoother. So this is
Yeah.
great feedback that you're giving me, so that we can actually use that. And
Yeah, you bet.
yeah,
I'll share you the tool offline then.
perfect.
Sorry, audience.
Yeah.
If you need video snippets, you need to call me.
Yes.
But going back to Pod Squeeze, the other feature that I thought was really cool was like sharing the title. Normally people have to come up with the titles on their own. What would you say, like what makes a catchy title for you?
Well, that's a great question. So actually, we just finished writing a blog post about that, so I can somehow use what I've learned. For me personally, I just go with my guts. I
Yeah.
don't really know what works, what doesn't. I just try to apply my own voice to it.
Nice.
Um, there are a few techniques. So so from our little research, we know that if you start with a question about the specific topic you are going to cover in the episode, again, it also depends on what kind of podcast you have, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you start with a question, that normally works, right? So let's say, how can AI help you as a podcaster, something like this, I don't know, and then people already know, okay, probably I will get the answer for this, and it has good conversion. And normally there's also like a typical length that you don't
Yeah.
want to make it too short or too long, right? But yeah, I think in general, I just see what works. That's my
Yeah.
suggestion. Like, try to play around with different titles. I do change the titles after publishing. So if I publish an episode and I see people, or the conversion rate is not as good, or people do
Oh,
not really understand,
interesting.
I try like playing around it and changing it a little bit to see what works. But I think it's just changed for everyone.
I've never ever thought of that. Like I feel like once it's live and release, you're like, it is what it is. But I've never thought
Yeah.
of going back, changing the images and changing the title and then pushing it out because you obviously can promote it because it's evergreen. But to do that to see if you get like you attract more listeners, that's brilliant. I totally have never dawned on me whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's super smart. But the AI is really, again, they're not like boring titles where it's like 5 ways to bake a cake. It's like they are catchy actually, like, and they can have a little fun with it, and just the choice of words is impressive.
Yeah. So the way I use Pod Squeeze titles normally is I just get some inspiration out of it. So I see the titles, say, okay, this is cool. I just take, and then I can also give a little bit my own voice. We are also trying to work on that to improve. We're always improving the platform, always listening from the feedback of our users. So hopefully in soon we'll have even better titles. But so far I'm basically using those to.
Yeah.
Yeah, to create some inspiration, to get some inspiration.
Yeah, no, I like them. One of the other features that I think is really smart as well is that like to use the content to create like a newsletter or to email your list. So I went in talking with podcasters and doing, podcast audits. I'm like, oh, do you email your list about your podcast? And they're like, oh, no. And I'm like, what? Like, to me, that's an obvious. So I love that. Yeah, you create that content. Are there any tips that you have or like other benefits that you can share for creating that newsletter?
Yeah, so actually the newsletter is something that, again, I didn't do it before because I didn't have the time, much like the
Right?
timestamps. One I do think that a lot of people do not know that email marketing is still very a great way to do marketing, right? I mean, that's how
Absolutely.
you got to know Pod Squeeze. So it's definitely a way to explore because you also have more control over it, right? So if you think about other social media like Twitter or Instagram, whatever, you
Mhm.
don't really own your audience. So basically, they can just cut you off, or if you don't interact with the algorithm enough, they will maybe cut your reach. So emails, once you have that list of people that actually
Yeah.
opt in, people that really want to listen to you, to your voice, you can just email them and they'll most likely read it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great strategy, and I think a lot of people do not realize that. So what we do with Podsquiz is that you can just generate all of these assets in a super, so you can generate all of like the newsletter in a super easy, simple way. And you can basically, okay, you need to edit it a little bit, again, give it your own voice, and then paste it in a platform like MailChimp or some kind
Yeah.
of platform that basically makes it easy for you to send these newsletters and manage everything. And bam, you just have
Yeah.
another way to repurpose your content to broaden your audience. And I personally still not using it for my own podcast. I know a lot of people that are using for others, but it's something that I really want to do it. Do you also do it for your own podcast?
I do, yeah. And then same with clients who are like stuck for like, oh, I email my list like once a month, and I'm like, that's crazy. You need to email them on a weekly basis. So sometimes we do the email where it shares the episode, what they're a guest or whatever. But then I'll also do another email where it's just like one tip. So it's just serving, right? It's just here's a great tip, a quick read. And then in the
That's a good
PS, you
one.
could share like another resource or that episode or something that you got coming up or whatever. But just to stay top of mind. And again, always be serving and giving them content for sure. And it's just so easy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a good tip as well. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe something we should bring to the table.
There you go. Are there any tips that we need to know for using AI? I have found that some people have used AI, put it on their website or wherever, and like, it's not perfect. It's like they just copy and paste and go with it. Like, how, yeah, like what tips would you give us so that it's used to its best?
So tips that are not Podsquiz related, obviously, right? So
Or yeah, as a podcaster, like
I think
should we tweak it? How much should we tweak it? Is it okay to like piece things
mhm.
together from
Yeah. So obviously, the first tip I would give is to use tools like the one you mentioned that also helps you repurpose your content and create snippets, or like Podsquiz.
Mhm.
In other maybe different kind of approaches is to use AI to get some ideas. So let's say you have no idea what topics you should cover, so you can just
Ooh,
play with ChatGPT. You just can go there and say, hey, my audience are entrepreneurs again, or podcasters. What the type of topics they interested
yeah.
in? So it all will kind of spit out a bunch of suggestions you can just use. You can also use that to write a script for you. Why not? So you can
Ooh,
just go there.
yes.
Yeah, you can just basically write down a bunch of topics you want to cover and say, just write a script for this kind of audience, and you will like
Yeah.
do it perfectly, and you can just like read it out. um, you can use to summarize content. So if you want to talk about a specific uh, topic, so you want to talk about, let's say, email marketing, you can get a lot of content and summarize it and say, hey, just extract 3 or 4 topics that I should cover in my next episode, and can give you some suggestions. So
Yeah. That's a great
these are, I
idea.
guess, some ideas one can
Yeah.
use to
No, that's a really good idea.
repurpose.
Do you know what else I've used? I think I can't remember if it was the show notes or the newsletter um piece that came out of Pod Squeeze,
Mhm.
but I actually used it for my YouTube description for the video.
Yeah,
So I was able
Yeah,
to,
you can
and I
also do
even
that.
put the timestamps in there. I'm like,
Perfect. Yeah. Why not?
yeah,
We also have the
exactly.
keywords actually. So you can, we also generate keywords now so that people can just copy paste these keywords
Ooh,
to their
yes,
YouTube
I
videos.
forgot about that part. I know. Well, thank you so much for the tips.
Thank you.
I think AI is like, it can feel like a scary, weird, techie thing that you're like, I don't even know how to use. But yeah, I just want to let people out there know that Pod Squeeze is super easy to use. And yeah, I need to use the tool where you can like adjust the voice of it a little bit
Yeah,
more.
do that.
But now that you've given suggestions on like how to do that, I think that will definitely help for sure. And so how
Perfect.
can
Yeah. Thank
people
you so much.
find Pod Squeeze and like yeah, what is the pricing?
Yeah. So podsqueeze.com. You can just go to the website or
Yeah.
just search it on Google. Pod from podcast and squeeze from squeezing, like squeezing a lemon.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't put two and two together, like the squeezing of
Oh,
the
okay.
lemon. But that makes
Yeah. So
totally sense.
yeah, so that's kind of the idea. You are squeezing as much content as you can from your
Yes.
podcast.
I love that.
So yeah, podsqueeze.com, and then you can. I'm also on Twitter if you want to like reach out to me
Perfect.
directly.
Yeah, yeah.
So that will be Tiago.
Yeah.
But yeah, just go there. We do have a free tier, which
That's
gives you
right.
50 minutes for free every month. So if you're a small podcaster or you just want to try it out, you can do so.
Yeah.
If you, and we have this, so the first tier, paid tier, it's 160 minutes for
So
$15, and
cheap.
then
Yeah, it's
it
great
starts
price.
from there. Yeah, and then we also have tiers with more minutes. So here you basically pay for minutes
Yeah.
per minute, and we have more for agencies. So agencies that manage multiple
Mhm.
podcasts that can also use PodSqueeze, and we have a package for them
Yeah.
too.
Perfect. Well, I'm so glad that you emailed me. And then I
Well,
discovered
thank
you
you.
and I've tried it
Yeah, me
out
too.
and love it. And thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation. It was really a pleasure.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. Hope you try out some AI and dive into podsqueeze.com.
Yeah.